Yeah, I've been writing for 29 years. I'm 30 years old. So I was scribbling and doodling when I was a little kid. My mom has boxes of old pictures of dinosaurs doing stuff and getting eaten by giant skulls. So that's how I got into writing. I was doing it before I could remember. And this book is, The Girlfriend Game, is 10 years worth of stories. I wrote more stories than that over 10 years, but these are my favorites. And I just realized I had enough to put together.
We're going to get started, so if you guys want to quiet down a bit. There's some room over here if you want to fill in. Okay. Well, welcome to Book Soup. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. If you haven't been here before, we're an independent bookstore, so thank you for coming and supporting us in that. If you have cell phones, can we silence those before we get started? We are so excited to have Nick Antosca here to talk about his new book of stories, The Girlfriend Game. He's the author of 3 other books. The Obese and Midnight Picnic are novellas, and The Fire is a novel, and he also has some TV writing credits, which you probably all know because I think you're all his friends. So join me in welcoming Nick.
Thank you guys for coming. I like to keep reading short, so I'm going to read 2 things. One is the first story from the collection, Rat Beast. It is about 6 minutes, and then I'll read part of the title story, The Girlfriend Game, which I think is also about 5 minutes. So we're going to be punchy here. Rat Beast. As a kid, I was happy. Mom and Dad were good to me and always bought me nice things to eat, like fruit roll-ups and astronaut ice cream and Famous Amos cookies. Me being a good student and getting all A's made them happy too. The only bad thing was that when I was 11, my older brother Philip got very unhappy and had to be sent off to a special school, so I never saw him. Then I became a teenager, bones creaking, voice thickening, and I suddenly got unhappy too. No reason why. I just all at once staggered under the weight of a heavy unhappiness that seemed to come out of the walls and ceilings and wrap itself around me. I saw shadows everywhere that didn't exist, and I had thoughts like, what's the point, and why bother? Mom and Dad became concerned because I had lost interest in school, so we had a meeting with the principal and a counselor. Let's talk about how you've been feeling, the counselor said, while Mom and Dad and the principal stared hard at my face. You're unhappy, but you can't say about what. And you don't enjoy any activities or food anymore. And you stopped doing your schoolwork. He leaned in, showing sincerity with his eyes. This happens to lots of boys your age. Most of them snap right back to normal. The important thing is to remember how lucky you are. He listed things I should be happy about, like my mom and dad who loved me, and my brain that would guarantee me a good future. And let's not forget your studies, the principal said, your grades, which have declined. We all know what you're capable of. On the drive home with the windows open and the breeze completely unenjoyable to me, Mom and Dad said they would start paying me $100 for every A. But the unhappiness didn't go away. Time passed and nothing improved. My brain just didn't want to tell my body to do anything. So we had another meeting in the principal's big, clean office. You're stuck in an unhappy ditch, I guess, the principal said. And let's not forget your grades, which are stuck in the ditch with you. You know, the PSATs aren't too far away. Let's try something else, the counselor said, since this seems to be a longer-lasting problem than we hoped. Mom and Dad watched me closely with their brows furrowed. Lately they'd been looking at me like someone who's holding their son for ransom. I felt awful about disappointing them, just like my brother Philip had. The counselor said, we'll get you on some medicine that you take every day like vitamins. What it'll do is scrub out this unpleasant feeling. Just scrub it out. You'll be able to enjoy things again, the principal said. Games, friends, schoolwork. So I was taken to a doctor, and the doctor gave me medicine. After a month, it had had little effect. Mom and Dad insisted that it was working, but I knew they were wrong. Mom and Dad stuck to their hopeful opinion until I took the PSATs and scored poorly. During the test, I saw shadows fall across the pages, covering the questions. So we had our third meeting with the principal and the counselor. The counselor sat leaning forward in a chair, head down, fingertips pressed together. Mom and Dad had their heads down, too. The principal stood in front of his desk, looking serious and decisive. "We've tried the things that usually work," the principal said. "Now I think we all agree it's time for the next step." He took me gently by the arm and led me to a door in the back corner of his office. I'd never been through that door before and didn't know what was on the other side. Mom and Dad and the counselor followed us through the door and down a long cream-colored corridor that led into a second corridor. One wall was clear plexiglass, and on the other side of the plexiglass were little pale cells, like an indoor zoo. Most were empty, but the counselor led me down to the cell at the end, within which a giant rat beast was crouched, doing schoolwork. The giant rat beast didn't look up at us. It was the size of a dog. It had wiry, black sprouts of fur, and an open, panting mouth, and hairless pink hands shaped like an ape's or a man's. One hand held a black pen and wrote in a spiral notebook. A textbook sat open on the floor, and the rat beast was transferring information from the textbook to the notebook. Sometimes a thread of drool fell from its mouth to the pages below. "That's your brother Philip," the counselor said. We tried all the usual things with him, too, but ultimately we had to take drastic measures. "Look at him working," the principal said. "Philip," I said. The rat beast didn't look up. I looked at Mom and Dad, who were nodding. "It doesn't hurt," the counselor said. "We just take you right into the other room." "You want to do that to me?" I said. "Only if it's what you want," he said. "We already talked to your Mom and Dad about it. You'll feel so much better. Look at him in there. His exterior is disturbing, but inside, he's actually very, very happy right now. And let's not forget how much schoolwork he gets done," the principal said. "Or his grades now," Dad added. "The idea does take getting used to," the principal said. "But at this stage, it's what I would recommend." Mom and Dad were nodding at me. Dad took Mom's hand and squeezed it. The counselor patted my shoulder. "Be changed," he said in a kind voice. "You'll be so happy." And that was the day I became who I am. That was Rat Beast, and now I'm just going to read the first section of the girlfriend game. We're getting a little bored, so I asked my girlfriend if she wants to play the game tonight. She says she does. I was hoping she'd say that. Every time we play the game, it brings us a little closer together. The game works best in dark, noisy lounges. It's pretty simple, just a fun thing we do at the end of the night. How it works is, I hang back, lurking in the crowd, while Danny goes up to the bar, alone and looking hot. A guy approaches her, strikes up a conversation. Danny tilts her auburn head, laughs, lets him buy her a drink. Danny's an actress, a talented one. They flirt a while before I walk up, pretending that I'm a stranger. Then Danny and I spontaneously hit it off, while the dumbfounded guy hovers with a terrible sense of humiliation and defeat. He watches helpless as Danny and I leave together in a glow of carnal enthusiasm, apparently having just met. And that's the game. Tonight, we're at Delancey Lounge. Earlier, at the birthday dinner for my ex-girlfriend Clementine, we're still good friends, which Danny is okay with. Danny and I had a minor fight when she took offense at something I said. But her agreeing to play the game now reassures me we're okay. I watch her walk the gaze gauntlet to the bar, wearing a little black dress that justifies the enduring prestige of little black dresses. She is provocatively petite, narrow-waisted, with a heart-shaped face and full red lips that make me want to eat a strawberry. At the bar, a guy wearing a fashionably faded black t-shirt, jeans, and a Movado watch approaches Danny. Sandy-haired, maybe 5'9", shorter than me, and about our age, late 20s. He's good-looking, which will make the game's payoff more pleasing. She smiles, showing her white teeth, touching the dark glossiness of her hair, exposing her throat as she laughs. 5 or 6 minutes is all it needs to develop. By then he's leaning in, touching her arm, cocky about how easily he's been welcomed into her personal space. I move in. "Oh, excuse me," I say, bumping into him. "No worries," he says, turning back to my girlfriend. Here's where Danny will usually break conversation to touch my arm and say something like, "Hang on, you look just like that guy from that thing." And I'll laugh and say something like, "You mean the thing with the baboon?" We like to improv, make it a little dada, take it to the verge of absurdity while keeping straight faces. But this time she just says, "So, Miles, how long did it take you to play?" Miles says, "The latest one?" "Guys, quick question," I say, confidently interrupting him, shouting over the music to deliver one of my stock conversation starters. "Schadenfreude, is that when you're happy to see your friends fail or unhappy to see them succeed?" Miles says, "The former." And that is when she, Danny, my girlfriend, leans close to this guy, this Miles, this playwright, and, without ever looking at me, mouths, "Do you want to get out of here?" Moments later, I'm struggling through the crowd, trying not to lose them. A gaggle of girls migrates through my path, and I can't see Danny anymore. When I catch sight of her again, she's standing near the entrance, alone. "A playwright, huh?" I say, reaching her. "Well, that's perfect for you, isn't it?" "Sorry, I think you're mistaking me for someone else," Danny says, her body language all, "Don't get close," like I'm some creepy bar stranger. "Ha, game's over now, let's get out of here." "My friend Miles just went to the men's room. We're leaving. Nice meeting you." "Stop, it's not funny. Are you trying to make a point?" "No, I'm waiting for my friend Miles." "Is this about what I said at Clementine's dinner?" She busies herself with her iPhone, not looking at me, lips pursed. "I'm not sure what you mean. Would you like to elaborate?" "I'm sorry, okay? I don't think you're unadventurous, and I wasn't implying you should be more like my ex. Don't read so much into offhand remarks." "No," she says hotly, looking up, her cheeks splotching crimson the way they do when she's indignant. "You didn't say unadventurous. You said inhibited. You said predictable. In bed, and sometimes. I said inhibited in bed, and sometimes predictable." "Oh, great," she says, "and now I'm unadventurous too. And please do explain what it implied that after you called me inhibited, you offhandedly remarked how exciting Clementine was, and how she was always surprising you, and then I had to sit through her fucking birthday dinner, thinking about you two playing Hitchhiking Version, or Freshman Needs an A, or whatever. I never should have told you that." Well, maybe I'm more adventurous than you think," she says. Miles emerges from the bathroom and sees me. "You're really persistent, aren't you?" he says amiably. Danny takes his arm and leads him to the door. And like that, she's gone. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, let's
Disperse.
let's hang out. Yeah, of course. Oh, questions?
So when you were writing your first stories, did you publish those anywhere else, like in magazines or anything, or?
Yeah, early on I was sending stories out to websites. This was when I was 16, 17, so the internet was like Internet 1.0, but there were a couple of literary journals around. Mostly horror-based ones, I think. Okay. I was publishing a horror website called Gothic.net. That was the first place I'd ever published a story of mine. And I think the story was about a guy who had a stomach ache or heartburn or something, and he pulled open his chest and you could see a big outer space darkness inside it. In the distance there were teeth, and they were coming closer and closer and closer, and every time he would open up his chest you would see the teeth would be closer, and then at the end the teeth came out and ate him. And that was my first story that was published. I don't know if it exists anymore. I feel like if it was probably pretty terribly written, but I still like the idea, so I should just rewrite it at this point, because I still it might be fun. And then I just kept doing that every year. I would send out stories, and some were in print journals. I was writing in college. I had a high school teacher who encouraged me, and so I'd send stuff out. I'd send stuff to him, and then send it out. Yeah, that's how it went.
How'd you get into TV writing?
I got into TV writing because I realized that you cannot make a living as a short story writer or as a quote-unquote literary novelist. I decided to quit my day job in New York and move to Los Angeles, and I have a writing partner, and we just did it. We spent a couple of years teaching ourselves to write, and then a year out here trying to just get meetings and people to read our stuff. And we eventually got hired on the show Teen Wolf on MTV. and that was our first job, and it was a blast. I mean, it's just talking about werewolves all day. So that's how we got started. And you know, I just felt like if I could find some way that I could just tell stories all day and make a living at it, then I'd really have accomplished, you know, what I wanted to do since I was a little kid.
Sure. And then you got into Last Resort, and how'd you get that gig?
Last Resort was, well, we had already had TV jobs, and now we had credentials. We just interviewed for it. That's how we got it. Our agents sent our stuff to Sean Ryan, who ran that show, and he had made The Shield, which is my favorite TV show of all time, and that was the show that made me want to write TV creatively. And so he liked our script and he hired us, and it was a great job.
Yeah, it was really it's just a really interesting premise. I mean, the whole thing was really...
It was interesting. It was
kind of like 24, but in the water. I mean, it had that intensity about it.
Yeah, the problem when you have a story that's set entirely on an island, but that's beset by the outside world, is that you have to import story every week. So it gets tough. So it was an interesting premise. It's a very difficult premise to write for, which is one of the reasons that, you know, it is not still in the air. But it was really a privilege to write for. It was a great writer's room.
Lieutenant Champion, position report.
Crossing the equator now, sir.
Your first time crossing the equator on the warship, Gracie? Woo! I recommended you for a Naval Command, Virginia. You have a wife. Go home. Start a family. Sweet mother of God.
Why are we firing? It's a direct order, sir.
I'm not going to annihilate 4.3 million Pakistanis without hearing directly from someone whose authority I recognize.
You are relieved of your command.
Line's dead, sir.
What the hell did you just do?
I've inbound cruise missile on our position. All hands, emergency team! Emergency team!
Space for impact!
We lost 12 souls in the attack. Let's get somewhere safe so we can all see our families again.
I got a fix on the boat who shot us, sir. It's the Illinois.
Our own people tried to sink us.
Betrayed by their nation.
No matter what you're telling the American people, you sank your own daughter's boat.
And cut off from a world that has gone to war.
Dad, it's me.
Sam, is that you?
It's me, baby. I'm okay.
I think I found our oasis, the island of St. Marina. Let's grab some sunlight, people.
They must build a defense.
This station and that sub parked outside, they all belong to me now.
Decide who to trust.
This is my island.
And take desperate measures against the threat of their own country.
The Illinois shot us up, damn near killed us.
White House said it was the Pakistanis.
And every other nation on the planet.
Everything we did was to stay alive long enough to get home.
Maybe this is home now.
2 birds heading our way. P-1 bombers.
Hiding in the ocean is not going to stop them from bombing this town and all the people in it. We need to change the game. They need to understand I'm a man of my word.
Please believe in me. Please remember how much I love you.
I love you too.
I'm declaring a 200-mile no man's land around this island. We do not obey a government that tries to murder its own. Test us, and we will all burn together. You've been warned.
Last Resort. Coming to ABC.
And it was a unique, there's no other show like it that's been out there. Although now there will be, because there's a show called The Last Ship, which is like the same premise but with an aircraft carrier, I think. So, but Last Resort was first.
So are you going to be on this new one, The Last Ship?
Oh. No. I've already done it.
Talk about maybe just for a second the process. How did that work? Did somebody do the script first, and then what
we broke it all in the
process
room. You know, we would sit around the room. We would talk about you know, what might happen, and plot out the episode together, then somebody goes off and writes the script. So there's lots of things that that my writing partner and I came up with in other episodes, and there's lots of things that other people came up with in our episode, and we went and did, you know, the actual writing, which is like the flavor and the dialogue of the character, you know, the little moments as opposed to sort of the big structural moves.
How much input do the others have? Like the directors, did they have ideas or input in the storylines, or some of the actors? Or
they have input in the execution. They don't have input in content. So you write a scene and they got to, you know, do it like you wrote it, but then they might add a little something extra in terms of the emotion or like the volume, the level. You know, you write a scene where they're like, you imagine they're yelling at each other and they play it kind of quietly and it has a different power because of that, and you end up liking it. That's always a fun thing. But it's the showrunner and the writers who determine what, you know, what's going to happen.
Yeah, it was hard to believe that got canceled, actually.
Yeah, it was sad. It was
probably finding an audience. It takes a while to find an audience for something like that, but it was really exciting. So
we were in what's known in the industry as the death slot, Thursday at 8 p.m. on ABC. They have had a lot of trouble launching a show there, so we knew we had an uphill battle from the beginning, and also because the premise is, you know, is unique. But yeah, it was sad when it got canceled. Right now I'm working on a new TV show called Believe, on it with my writing partner. It is a J.J. Abrams produced show, directed and co-created by Alfonso Cuarón, and it's scheduled to be on NBC next March after the Olympics, March 2014. So very excited about that.
Cool, sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.